As you say, we are facing a situation that requires skills, behaviours and ways of thinking that we've never used before. How does this impact the performance of a leader?
Well, we are facing a situation that is demanding from us skills, behaviors, and ways of thought that we have never used before as a leaders. Leadership skills has been debated for many centuries and for sure will continue to be debated until the end of time. But today, in this coronavirus situation, we have understood that becoming a good leader is not an instantaneous achievement. Leadership is a gradual process that requires discipline, education, development, motivation, and natural talent. In this situation, all of us who are leaders are dealing with aspects that demand a huge effort for us. And even great leaders are dealing with this situation. I have in mind the Chinese philosopher Confucius, through the Analects, describes his disciplines for the roles, responsibilities, and duties of leaders. The ultimate lessons leaders can derive from Confucius' Analects still stand strong today. A leader has to define a purpose, work together as a team to clear a path toward that common goal. Through motivation, teaching, and guidance, the leader assists the people in reaching their full potential because a leader has to serve their people. So today, more than ever, we need to have a purpose bigger than ourselves, a purpose bigger than a simply quantity result, because a purpose-driven job creates the environment in which the teams make their own decisions to achieve common goals aligned with the leader vision. So this is how it's impacting in the performance of the leaders. We have to go to achieve an outstanding performance by defining a purpose and sharing this purpose with our team.
You say that teams are hoping to learn from their leaders in order to feel part of the group. How should the leader maintain a positive sense of their team's personal and social identity in such difficult times?
Humans are social animals. Because of that, when we hold beliefs, attitudes, or cognitions which are different from the group, and most importantly, when we are alone or isolated, we experience dissonance. This is an internal inconsistency and causes discomfort, which motivates us to change our thoughts, our beliefs, and our attitudes. It can also cause to selectively attend to information that support one of our beliefs and ignores the other. This is called selective exposure. And this happens because humans are social and desire the feeling of belonging. We need to maintain a positive sense of personal and social identity. This need comes from something very basic, that is survival. We need the group to support our growth and to learn, because we are social learners. We learn and we develop from others. One of the best theories about this premise is Bandura social learning theory, which states that people learn from one another via observation, imitation, and modeling. Bandura believes in reciprocal determinism, the notion that behavior is learned through observational learning from the environment around us. And the discovery of mirror neurons support the theory of social learning, as mirror neurons constitute a neurological basis for imitation. Another great psychologist called Erickson became one of the precursors of life cycle studies using a wider social cultural sphere. His concept asserts that humans continue to change and develop through their life, and it also emphasizes the social nature of human beings and the important influence that social relations have on development. This theory, the psychosocial determinants of development. So Erickson coined the term psychosocial, and it stands from psychological, the mind, and social relationship. So as a leader, we should define initiatives to accelerate the skills, vision, and mind of our team to enhance careers and maximize their potential within their roles, from a cognitive approach for sure, and to promote a friendly environment and social relationships. Our team are waiting to learn from us and to feel part of the group working remotely. Something that we can do as a leader is bring people together. As a leaders, it is our responsibility to bring people together. Obviously, this is done with team meetings, but as well with fun activities. And we need to encourage these fun activities in video conferencing too. So bring people in is part of the things that we have to do as a leader.
How should we deal with the team's natural resistance to changing the work routine?
There is a maximum that is humans do not have a predisposition to change. Basically, when a change happens, our brain organizes a series of chemical and electrical resources that modify the state of the body, the mental state, and prepare itself to generate a response. Our basal ganglia in the ancestral or primitive brain are responsible for wiring habits. This cluster of nerve cell bodies is involved in functions such as automatic or routine behaviors that we are familiar with or that make us feel good. In addition to the basal ganglia, each time a behavior feels good, there is a bit of dopamine rush. And that dopamine rush motivates future behaviors. And as the behavior is repeated, basically, dopamine facilitates neurons connection, and the habit is reinforced. Any type of change can go against the neural paths that have become automatic to us. That is why we tend to fall back on our default or automatic behaviors when we try to implement changes. Although we can consciously control the decision to change and to adapt to the new situation, this is the responsibility of a separate region of the brain known as neocortex. The neocortex is controlling conscious decision making in the brain. And for sure, our conscious actions require much more effort and much more motivation. So changing behavior is hard. Even for individuals, and even when new habits can mean the difference between life and death. In many studies of patients who have undergone coronary bypass surgery, only 1 in 9 people on average adopts healthy day-to-day habits. The others' lives are at significantly greater risk unless they exercise and lose weight. And they clearly see the value of changing their behavior, but they don't follow through. So we have to deal as well with our resistance to change and that resistance to change in people from our teams. So for me, in this case, the communication is key. So we should boost communication with our teams. To have longer calls is an example of something that we can do to boost communication. During this time, we will need to dedicate more time to people, as we do not have those moments outside of our meetings, like lunch or the moments in coffee machines, to build a rapport. So we need to make sure when we as a leaders speak with our teams or a team member, we give them the time they need. The Dr. Albert Mehrabian communication rules say the elements of communication are 7% word, 38% voice, and 55% body language. So as we work from home, we're relying on emails and WhatsApps to communicate. But when 7% of communication is through words, it's so important to make sure that we reinforce our voice and we reinforce our body language. And I told you before, we have to define a purpose, to define a vision, and to give our teams freedom environments to make their own decisions aligned with our vision. What this means is that we set clear processes and procedures for the whole team so they can all feel they are following a clear path to the team's objectives.
What is the challenge for a leader when facing issues and behaviours associated with social emotional intelligence?
Oh, social emotional intelligence. I love it. For me, this is key for a leader. In fact, a recent study of neural substrates activated in memories of experience with resonant and dissonant leader shows that resonant leaders activate neural areas associated with the mirror neuron system, default mode or social network, and positive affect. Sorry. A good part of the effectiveness of social emotional intelligence comes from its impact in developing neural circuitry, which help manage working memory and inhibit disruptive emotional impulse. Mark Greenberg of Pennsylvania University reports not only that the social emotional learning for a school student boosts academic achievement, but that much of the increased learning can be attributed to improvements in attention and working memory. This is a challenge for us due to the distance and the need to use new tools. But I think that this emotional connection could be portrayed through social network, through a specific campaigns that you launch to your team, and through any other tool to maintain relations. Communication is not just a matter of what you say, but the channel you use to say it. And we have to think in each generation because each generation has their own preference, and social media is the best example of this. For example, in case of Generation X or millennials, they used to prefer Facebook, whereas Generation Z, who are digital natives, tend to open you to YouTube or Instagram. So as a leader, we can use, why not, this kind of platform to communicate with our team, or maybe to launch some challenge through the team, or to do new initiatives around that.
How do we best take advantage of cognitive achievements and positive psychology to motivate employees?
So we have to use cognitive achievement and positive psychology to motivate employees. If our employees are connected with their leaders and with the company on an emotional level, they will want to be part of it. Positive emotions, social connections, and physical health influence one another in a self-sustained upward spiral dynamic. This is the result from a recent study on positive psychology and its impact in our health. The foundation of this premise is Martin Seligman and Pennsylvania University. One of the things that I recommend that we can do is to have personal check-ins with our teams, so that in our one-to-one meetings, we don't just talk about work all the time, but we could make sure we are having a personal connection with our team members by sharing personal experience and building together a trust. Of course, make sure that we are always a professional and so on. But sometimes it's good to ask people how they feel, how they are, because we are not in a regular situation.
How can the team take home good habits and basic elements to achieve happiness at work?
Basic elements and habits to be happy at work are purpose, make sense of work and what you do, to have a vision. And this is something that people can do if you, as a leader, provide them with a vision. Control, to have awareness and control over your own professional life and career. So give space to your teams to feel free to make their own decisions. Progress, this is the feeling that we are advancing, improving, and evolving. And this is important because a happy organization facilitates an environment of dynamic development. Connectivity. So we have been talking about that on the whole podcast. Connectivity is to have relationships at work, to promote closer relationships and less hierarchy, and above all, nourish through friendships where positive emotions flow. Our values are important, so we have to know our values, live them in our day to day, and for sure to have values that are connected and that are aligned with our organizational values. And the last one is provide recognition and to say thanks, to recognize and give feedback from a positive and appreciative perspective. It is important that people feel appreciated, recognized, and heard. Something that you can say is, to me, you are important.
So how can we encourage the growth of our teams in this time characterised by working at home?
We should encourage our team's growth always. I am part of Everest. All people in Everest live our growth mindset culture. In growth mindset, people have an underlying belief that their learning and intelligence can grow with time and experience. The growth mindset is about developing resilience and developing a mindset that sees failure and mistakes as opportunities for learning. This concept was introduced by Carol Dweck from Stanford University. Recent research shows the link between mindsets and achievement. So, if you believe you can grow, you behave differently. So, Duke found that when people believe they can get smarter, they realize that their effort has an effect on their success. So, they put in an extra time, leading to a higher achievement. The idea is we can grow our brain's capacity to learn and solve problems. And neuroscience has shown us that the brain is far more malleable than we ever know. Research on brain plasticity has shown how connectivity between neurons can change with experience. With practice, neural networks grow new connections, strengthen existing one, and build insulation that speed up the transmission of impulse. This discovery suggests that we can increase our neuronal growth by the actions we take, even though adulthood, behavior, environmental stimuli, thought, and emotions may also cause neuroplasticity. This is a very important discovery. So we must encourage employees to focus on the importance of developing themselves and their careers by acquiring more sophisticated soft skills and competing with themselves rather than with other colleagues.
How do we encourage, in this difficult social context, employees to focus on the importance of developing themselves and their careers through new social skills?
We are living an emotional difficult moment for the team because it implies a separation and a form of grief. We have been built on the foundations of people we meet, and in a sense, our team is part of ourselves. So helping people to grow, providing positive feedback is vitally important at this moment. By using the right communication tool, know when, where, and how to use the right tools is something that we can do to support our employees. We can use WhatsApp, Teams, Skype. We need to have a talk. We can use a telephone if we need to talk about something different. So at the end, we have to use the right communication tool. Something fast with WhatsApp or maybe Skype for a more strategy tool. We can use as well one-to-one communications, one-to-one moment. Although it is good to have team meetings and make sure that the team is doing well and is okay, we have not forget individuals in the team. So make sure to give each of them some of our time, as some may not feel as confident to speak up in the team meetings. And the last advice could be to define clear roles and responsibilities. Have this mapped out as a team, so everyone knows what they are meant to achieve in the team, and others know how to go to if they need help with a specific with something specific.
How important is it to provide positive feedback to team members at this time of perplexity?
Pretty important. I have told before about the growth mindset, but something interesting is that expectations can change neurology. If you have low expectations of someone and express that during formal feedback, their brain can start to function worse. This is something known as the Pygmalion effect. The Pygmalion effect theory from Rosenthal teaches that people will act or behave in a way that others expect them to. It is very similar to the concept of self-fulfilling prophecy. The effect has both positive and negative outcomes. A person expected by his or her superiors to succeed often will do so, and vice versa. The feedback we receive can either encourage us to choose a challenge and increase achievement, or look for an easy way out. Not being together in enough things means, dude, well done, good job, at the coffee machine are missing. So you have to make sure that they still happen. Give motivation to positive feedback. Give your team motivation with kudos, for example. The kudos cards is easy and people love it.
How should the leader act in order to bring people closer to the team whilst everyone is at home?
Well, we can do thousands of things. For example, virtual coffees. I do this with my team. So this is like to have half an hour in the middle of the week to talk about nothing special, just a coffee. Virtual Fridays drinks, for example. This is something that is a little bit different. So you can do at the end of the Friday and you can have an informal conversation with your team, talk about the weekend, and for sure, meetings online with each member of the team and with all the team together.
How do you define clear processes and procedures for the entire team?
Here, the most important is the delegation. Without trust, your team won't perform to the level you want and need them to perform. By giving your team the opportunity to decide on aspects of tasks they will feel trusted, which in turn will allow them to trust you as a leader. The Management 3.0 has a technique called a delegation board, very effective if you need some support to delegate. Another thing that you can do is adapt the processes because procedures are not static. Work with your team to see what works and what can be changed if it is needed. Make sure these are worked through with the team so they feel part of these processes. One of the things that I would like to recommend strongly is to know each member of your team. When working remotely, your team will still want to know that they are on track and the objectives on track in their objectives, and that they have the potential to grow. So it is important to understand what they need, in which moment of their career they are, make sure you are discussing how the tasks required can relate to what has been set out in their objectives. So keeping them on track.
Is this a good time to inspire?
I think this is the moment to inspire. Keep inspiring others no matter where you are. We have been talking today, make this coronavirus situation one of the hardest the leaders are facing worldwide. We have to make decisions which impact in business result. And at the same time, we have to look more than ever after our people. We are going to show what kind of leaders we are and our values by the decisions we make. Our role in this pandemic situation is crucial. We live in a technological era and we live in a technological company, as well as our people. So we need to adapt and make changes using technology as a driver more than ever. And we have to be a role model for our team. We need to support to reach our maximum potential of our teams. And we need support to reach our maximum potential as leaders in crisis time and to be pioneers of the future world. I believe that we are living a unique situation, and this is the perfect moment for us as a leaders to grow, to learn, and to support our people's integral development. I rely on leaders to set an example throughout the business. It is our moment to inspire and to be the great digital leaders our teams are expecting.